Yes, sir, it's 5:30.
If I can have your attention at this time, we'll call the school board meeting to order. I want to say welcome and thank you to everybody for being with us this evening. To give us a quick run of our agenda, I will be leading us in our invocation this evening. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Scott Flowers. We will have a performance of our national anthem by Eunice Santos, who's a student at OXA. Our mission statement will be read by the one and only Mr. John Boyd, and then translation service will be provided by Dr. Belinda Reyes. At this time, I please ask you to stand with me for our invocation, our pledge, and our national anthem. And if you haven't already, like council, please mute your cell phones.
The computer.
Oh, got it. Join me as we pray. God, we come before you this evening, always grateful that we have the honor to come before you as your creation, as your chosen creation, to lift up our prayers, our requests, our concerns, and our needs before you. Tonight we ask for wisdom and discernment for this board, for unity amongst all of us here, that we would seek first to understand and then to be understood, that we put the needs of our community, our students, and our staff ahead of those of our own, that we be mindful of the responsibility entrusted to each one of us to make decisions on behalf of this community. And God, we take a moment tonight to pause, recognizing that we enjoy a great freedom in this country, the freedom to be able to elect our representatives, to be able to choose who will lead and guide our country. And although there's many opinions on both sides of the conversation, we pray, I believe, collectively tonight for unity, for togetherness, for oneness, and for the opportunity for us to truly come through an election as these United States. It's in Christ's name that I pray. Amen. If you'll join me in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we'd watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Mr. Boyd.
Mission statement of the Osceola County School District: aspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Belinda Reyes and I am here to provide translation services. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Belinda Reyes y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
Thank you, Dr. Reyes. At this time, we'll look for positive comments. Just so you know, Mr. Thacker will be joining us, got stuck in a little bit of traffic, but will be joining us as we speak. Ask and ye shall receive. He's still wearing a gator mask. I don't know. No, you're good. You can't control traffic. You're just in time for positive comments, but I'll let you get settled in. I'll start with Ms. Castillo first.
No
Sure. So, what a wonderful day to be an American on Election Day. So, what a beautiful rendition of our Star Spangled Banner as well, sung by Miss Santos, whose mother is running for a school board. So I'm sure she's out on the campaign trail herself. So it was a really interesting way to kind of open up the meeting. You know, I'm just really happy to be here. I know it's the last meeting with this current board, and I know that we'll have some time later to kind of talk about, you know, send you out, Mr. Weisire. But I do want to say that it's been an honor to serve with you, and I've learned a lot from your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. Is that all, Terry? There's plenty more I'm sure you'd like to say about me.
No, I have paper, but I'm gonna save it for
6
later.
pages of just
17 pages,
17.
actually, yeah.
Mr. Thacker?
My page is blank, and then nobody gave me notes.
That
I would echo what Ms. Castillo says about a great day to be an American. And which I guess we will get to later, just it has been my honor as well to serve with you and Mr. Booth, Mr. Soto, but we'll talk about that further in a few minutes. I appreciate very, very much all your service to this county over the last 8 years. And while we may not agree on lots of things from philosophical points of view, that's never been a problem being on the board with you and reaching consensus and doing what, finding places that were right for everybody. So I appreciate that greatly.
Thank you, Mr. Thacker. One of the interesting things is even though Mr. Thacker and I don't always agree, he recognizes that's because he's not always right.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Jay Wheeler left the board.
Exactly.
Those are Jay's comments, word for word.
Yeah, right. Obviously, this is my last school board meeting that I'll be sitting, and we will have an opportunity here in a moment, and I appreciate the recognition, but I do want to just say thank you to everybody in the room. I had an opportunity to talk to some of you before we got started. I'm truly grateful to have been able to serve this school board over the last 8 years, and I'm truly grateful to have been able to serve with the board members that I have. I said it 2 weeks ago, and we were saying thank you and farewell to Mr. Booth, just how grateful I've been and how fortunate we've been as a community to have a board that's been so unified. Although difference of opinions at times, the jest that we share with one another is genuine because we truly value, love, and respect one another. And that's reflected in the way that we treat one another. Even though we disagree, we find opportunities for unity. In addition to that, you guys know, each one of you staff that I'm looking around the room and those that aren't here, just how much I appreciate you guys. This job and this work has been made richer because of you, and that is an absolute fact. I have developed phenomenal friendships and relationships with each one of you over the years, and I'm truly grateful to call you not just peers, but friends and leaders of this community. Tanya, thank you for all that you do to support us. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the many laughs that we've shared. It's truly been a joy, and I've said it many, many, many times, but this school district is incredibly fortunate to have Dr. Pace serving at the helm. Not only interviewing, but casting a vote for her to become the superintendent of the school district was one of the pure joys for me as a school board member, and I think we all have shared that same sentiment at some point over time. So to the staff of the school district from every corner of this county, you're fortunate to have the leader that you have. This board knows that it's fortunate to have the leader that it has, and this community as a whole is fortunate to have you, Dr. Pace, as our superintendent. I do want to just recognize, which is the harder part for me to do because of the love that I have in my heart, my parents are here. Thank you, love you, and I'm here because you guys instilled in me the importance of service and love and care for others, and that's been modeled in everything you've ever displayed for me. And then there's a gorgeous woman in the audience, my wife Pam, that has sacrificed a lot for me to serve and lead in different capacities over the years. And Pam, I couldn't be more grateful to call you my wife, my best friend, and for all the sacrifice and service that you've provided to this community over many, many, many years. So thank you to you guys. With that, Superintendent.
Well, Mr. Weisire, if you would please join me down front. Watch the wire. We don't want to trip on the side of the board. There's a board member here.
I wanna thank you for being a leader, for being a mentor, for being a friend in many respects as we've worked through this process together. I'm truly honored to have been able to serve as the superintendent under your leadership along with the rest of this board and the decision making and the things that we knew we were doing that were always in the best interest of students. And I appreciate that and more than you can ever know. So the Osceola County School Board proudly honors Tim Weissayer for his leadership and service to the Osceola County School District as a school board member from 2012 to 2020. His unwavering dedication to the students of the district has positively impacted and strengthened education in Osceola County now and well into the future. And all this plaque doesn't say it, Mr. Weissayer's service to children in this district and in this community goes back even before his term on a school board member, and that's really where I first had the honor and privilege to work with Mr. Weissayer in serving the Poinciana community. More years ago than I'd like to talk about. But I'm very, very pleased and honored to congratulate you, to thank you, and just wish you all the best as you move forward, given this 20th day of October, 2020. You will forever have a memento of the chief of Osceola as one of our reigning men with all of the schools in your Poinciana School District listed in this particular piece. This is for you as a gift from our students here in Osceola County School District.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. I want to say it was important for me to have Pam up here. It was 8 years ago we stood right here to take our oath together. And it's only fitting to have you here 8 years later, being recognized for all that you've done to sacrifice, to serve, and to allow me to lead. So thank you.
And then we'll get your parents to come up too. Mom and Dad? Then why don't we do one without me? Let's have a family picture.
So there's a joke with my daughters that I can't talk about family for more than 2 seconds without crying. It's revealed again this evening. I had to give an acceptance speech at some point. Courtney, my younger daughter, said to me, "Dad, I'll bet you $20 you don't get through the first 2 minutes without crying." And so right as I started to speak and recognize my family, I knew I was about to lose it. And so I told a joke to kind of break up the moment so that I can refocus again. But that's because family means so much to me. So thank you guys. With that, board, I am going to ask that we make a slight adjustment and do agenda modifications before we get into presentations. That's because we do have a blue sheet presentation. So at this time, I'll be looking for modifications. I'll go from my left to right. Mr. Thacker?
Have none.
Ms. Castillo?
I have none.
Dr. Pace?
Yes, Chairman Weissayer, I appreciate your attention here. We have the blue sheet item 2.02, Holocaust Education Proclamation from Governor DeSantis, issued just late last week. And then I will need to pull item 15.01 from the agenda tonight. That is on the regular agenda, the Sunbridge Mitigation and Funding Agreement. And then finally, under Superintendent Update, in addition to a short back-to-school update, I have a short update on our health services plan.
Thank you, Superintendent. Board, entertain a motion this time with those
Motion
adjustments.
to approve the agenda modifications as stated by the superintendent, as well as the consent agenda items.
Second.
Thank you. So we'll recognize a motion by Mr. Thacker with a second by Ms. Castillo on the approval of the agenda as modified. Recognizing no discussion at this time, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. With that, we'll move into presentations, and Ms. Lewis, you are up first.
Good evening. To our school board. I wanna say Tim so bad because that's how I know you, but Sherman Weishauer.
Nobody can pronounce his last name.
I know. Sure.
To be here on this night, I just have to say thank you for everything you've done for our Poinciana schools. And that's just me talking, so on to my presentation, but thank you. My name is Felisa Lewis, and I have the privilege of giving leadership to our Partners in Education program for the district. We have set as a district mission statement, inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens. Achieving this goal doesn't happen merely by what happens in the classroom. It is augmented by the generous contributions of our partners in education. Large and small businesses, churches, civic and nonprofit organizations, restaurants, healthcare facilities, and community agencies. These partners work hand in hand with our schools to make great things happen for our students. They provide educational experiences, student and staff incentives, and other material and financial support. They heed the call in many cases even before we ask. And so tonight we're here with one such partner, FundSpot America. FundSpot has had a long history with the Osceola School District. Through field trips, special admission for Title I schools, and last year's Golden Rule promotion, they have proven their commitment to the students of the Osceola School District. And now, during COVID-19, FundSpot has continued their work with us to offer virtual lessons and STEM education kits. For this, we are very thankful. The annual BOGO promotion, and that's these cards that many of you have seen and they've come home with your children, affords Osceola students and their families the opportunity to spend quality time together without breaking the bank. In addition to a day of fun in the parks, FundSpot gives back a donation from every single one of the coupons redeemed. Here with us tonight are Christina Lopez-Berkler and Renee Ambos with a special presentation. And I'd like to invite Sherman Weishauer, Vice Chair Weishauer, and Dr. Pace, if you would join us right out front.
Okay, good.
Thank you. This just became the better side.
We just want to say thank you so much to your continued wonderful partnership with the school district. This amount of money goes a long way to allowing us to do some really cool things for kids that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So thank you very much. We know it's been hard times for many in your industry, but you've still been a faithful partner and we appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you. And again, just for everybody in here, I always like to say nothing changes if nothing changes, and this room takes dedication and time and a commitment from all of you, and we're committed to you as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
to-
you. Appreciate
I wanted to share as a quick note, as Mr. Tim Weishauer said, we are huge into really having you not only as our partners, but you guys are family to us. So although we have not been able to have you face to face at the parks, know that we're here with you, we're here for you, we're ready to welcome you whenever you're ready, because guess what? It's huge!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, as referenced by the superintendent, we will have an approval of the Holocaust Education Week proclamation. Kelly Cotton will be presenting that On behalf of the superintendent.
Good evening. Holocaust Education Week in Florida proclamation. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored, systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945, in which 6 million Jews were murdered. And whereas we also commemorate other victims of the Nazi regime who suffered grievous oppression and death under Nazi tyranny. And whereas the history of the Holocaust offers an opportunity to reflect on the moral responsibilities of individuals, societies, and governments. And whereas we, the people of the state of Florida, should always remember the terrible events of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred, persecution, and tyranny, and actively rededicate ourselves to the principle of individual freedom and a just society. And whereas Holocaust Education Week, as part of Florida's House Bill 1213 in 2020, educational instruction of historical events, provides Floridians with a valuable opportunity to remember the victims of the Holocaust, as well as to reflect on the need to respect all peoples. And whereas Holocaust Education Week in Florida is an opportunity to honor the memory of the victims and survivors of the Holocaust, as well as the rescuers and liberators, and further proclaim that we, as citizens of the state of Florida, should work to promote human dignity and confront hate whenever and wherever it occurs. Now, therefore, we, the Osceola County School Board, do hereby proclaim November 9th through 13th, 2020 as Holocaust Education Week.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Ms. Castillo. Thank you, Ms. Cotton, for your presentation. It goes without saying that this is an important opportunity for us to reflect upon and remember the importance of all that was read in this proclamation and our opportunity to remind people of the importance of valuing all life at all times and expressing love and acceptance and kindness to those that we encounter. So I'm proud to vote in favor of this evening. Board, any other discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you again, Kelly. With that, we will move into public comment. Mr. Allen, you're actually the only one that signed up to speak this evening. Of course, you know our protocol. If you'll state your name and address to the record, and of course, you have 3 minutes to address the school board this evening, and I welcome you here tonight.
Good evening, all. Larry Allen, 722 Mabott, Kissimmee. So real quick, we reached a tentative agreement with the instructional personnel contract. And the happiest thing about that is we put the power back into, we put the power back into the hands of all instructional personnel. So they'll vote on that. We've been hustling to try to get the word out. So hopefully we'll have our vote done on the 16th, right before the school board meeting on the 17th. With that said, I hope you still remember that we have some ESPs. We haven't finished their contract. That negotiation happens on the 19th, I believe, this man right here. So there are a couple concerns that I have that have been brought to me. One of them is that we have rising numbers of COVID cases here in Florida, but it seems like we're rushing towards sending everyone back to school, back to brick and mortar school. And I don't want to, preach doom and gloom, but I do want us to be prudent about how we do that, because I'm starting to get reports of the more students you get back, that social distance has been shrinking. And we've gone so far as to get some emails that are saying social distance is a thing of the past. And I'm not sure that's where we want to go right now. But that's what's happening in the classrooms. Parents, please talk to your kids so you have an idea, a picture of what's actually happening in the classrooms. These people, these school board members here, they serve you. They're elected officials, just like I'm an elected official, but I just serve the teachers and the ESPs. But we're both, they're here to do what's best for you. I'm here to do what's best for the teachers and the ESPs. So I understand where they're coming from. They have some tough decisions to make, but I do believe they will listen if you contact them. So that's our rule. Everybody knows their role. And I think that's about it. I would just like us to be, this is Osceola County, and I know we can do better. We can be transparent about the contact tracing. That's another concern. People are not sure that it's actually happening as it should. One student tests positive, you go and you look at the seating chart to make sure, the 4 people around him. I'm not sure that's enough caution to make sure that our students and our staff are safe. And I think honestly, Osceola County has been very lucky. And that's about all I have for tonight. Congratulations, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, appreciate it. Before we move into our board workshop, I do want to recognize Emma De Leon from Toho High School is with us. Our new student representative has joined us. Just raise your hand so everybody knows who you are. We'll look forward to the opportunity to hear from you later on at the end of the meeting if you have some items you'd like to share with the board, but we're proud of you. We're excited for your time in working with the board over the next 3 meetings, and it really says a lot about you and your commitment to your education journey that you've been selected to be a part of this process. So I know I speak on behalf of the entire board, those here and those that weren't able to be here tonight when I say welcome and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Welcome. With that, board, we will recess and go into our school board rulemaking workshop. Mr. Boyd, at this time, I would ask, there you are, I'd ask you to please make your way to the podium for a presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Pace. Thank you. Tonight, we bring to you in the board workshop several changes of existing school board rules and 1 new school board rule that's proposed. We're not asking for action tonight. It's a workshop. We'll bring these back on December 1st, asking for action at that time. The first proposal is a new school board rule 5.85, exertional heat illness. It creates new policy regarding prevention and monitoring of exertional heat illness per state law. Rule 2.48, electronic records and electronic signatures is an existing rule. Change that's proposed revises paragraphs 1 and 2 and adds paragraph 4 for consistency with current state law. Rule 3.25, automatic external defibrillators, adds additional requirements related to defibrillator location. Rule 3.40, safe and secure schools, continues the ongoing creation of new policy language and revisions of existing policy language in order to comply with recent changes in state law and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice as a result of Senate Bill 7026, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act from 2018, and Senate Bill 7030 in 2019. This change revises the policy language to reflect changes in section 1006.07, district school board duties relating to school discipline and school safety Florida statutes. It adds paragraph 5B3. 3.68, background screening for contractors, revises policy language to add the new E-Verify requirement. Rule 4.71, participation of homeschooled students in extracurricular activities, adds paragraph 4 to clarify requirements for participation in athletic programs for students at non-traditional schools. Rule 5.18, children of military families, revises policy language to implement changes within section 1003.05, clause 4, assistance to transitioning students from military families Florida statutes, adds paragraph 4 to clarify procedures for the enrollment of students from military families based upon official military orders instead of residency. Rule 5.55, notification of involuntary examination, revises policy language regarding de-escalation prior to notifying law enforcement. Rule 5.80, athletics, revises paragraph 10 and 11 for consistency with existing School Board Rule 3.25 and new School Board Rule 5.85. In your document, you may see a different number. It's corrected to 5.85. 6.11, employment defined, revises policy language to add the new E-Verify requirement. 6.17, appointment or employment requirements, revises policy language to add the new verify requirement. And then lastly, Rule 7.10, school budget system, adds paragraph 6 to establish a minimum reserve policy, employee health and life trust fund. That concludes the summary of the changes proposed. At this time, I'm glad to answer any questions the board might have.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Board, as you know, this is a workshop, so it's an opportunity for us to have any discussion on these items. If there's any discussion to be had, is there any questions or comments at this time?
I'm good, thank you. Good job, John, as always.
These items will come back for a public hearing on December 1st for adoption, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Thank you. So at this time, we will adjourn our school board workshop on rules, and we will reconvene our regular scheduled school board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, sir.
Board, that is going to bring us down through information items. There is no presentation on that. That is just information that's been available to you. Assuming there's no questions on that, I'll move down to regular agenda items under facility, making note that facilities item 15.01 has been pulled, so the action would be only on 15.02.
For approval, 15.02.
Thank you. So a motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Ms. Castillo on the approval of item 15.02. Board, any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries 3-0. Well, that was a heavy lift, guys.
You're doing a lot faster than Calvin.
We're gonna go into attorney's report. Mr. Krumbacher, anything for the board?
There's a theme tonight too. Nothing for the board other than, you got it. I would like you, I'd like to thank you. For reasons I don't take the grief, I normally take grief.
What you wish for?
In all seriousness, I sincerely appreciated the opportunity to work with you, particularly I think your fault.
Thank you, Mr. Krumbacher. I will tell you, the joy of every meeting for me is giving you a hard time. With that, we'll go on to superintendent's update. Dr. Pace?
Yes, sir. With your permission, sir, I will start with just a quick update on some of our health services plans. We have made some significant progress in some of these areas that I wanted to share with our community and obviously with our board. First of all, just as a notice to everyone, again, Osceola Regional and Poinciana Medical Center and their associated providers have now joined our Evolutions network at Tier 1, retroactively to October 1st. In addition, 2 practices that were formerly tied to Advent Health, JMJ Fernandez and Dr. Craig Young, have chosen to also leave and come into Tier 1 of our Evolutions network, heavily requested by our employees. We also know that there were some questions about Celebration OBGYN. They are in Tier 1, however, they lost the provider in their practice that had privileges to Winnie Palmer. But Evolutions has worked with Orlando Health to fast-track credentialing for 2 of their current providers based on the imminent need. They are now able to deliver at Winnie Palmer, and we have an additional 2 providers in that system, Celebration OBGYN, going through the process. So there won't be hiccups with our folks who would choose to deliver at Winnie Palmer in Orlando. We also have a cancer patient who was covered on the plan seeing an Advent Health oncologist. MAP has worked with Orlando Health to transfer that patient to their provider, fast-tracked an appointment for this week within 3 hours of us becoming aware of this patient's need. Aether also worked with Orlando Health to take advantage of the Public Health Service Act to obtain the medication that the cancer patient was already taking at an Orlando Health provider with a savings of $120,000 a year on that particular chemo medication. Ventegra has worked with Prescriptions Unlimited and St. Cloud to be the source of a specialty medication that just came off the market as generic. The brand name was costing $8,332 a month. The specialty pharmacy generic is $3,100 a month. Prescriptions Unlimited can get us that same generic at $895 a month. And remember that these are incredible savings, not just for the district's health trust fund, but also for out-of-pocket expenses and co-pays for our employees and their family members. And then finally, we had an employee call Aether over the weekend with super positive reviews about the Orlando Health televisits. I know that Ms. Culver has sent all of you the information about how to make sure you're signed up for Orlando Health televisit. I would encourage you to do that before you're sick, because it is somewhat of a process. And I know when my husband was sick and I was signing him up early one morning for e-care, it nearly made him more sick because I almost hit him in the head with the phone, okay? Because when you're sick and you don't feel well, you don't wanna have to go through that procedure. So I would just encourage you to take advantage of that and our employees to actually try out that service because they were able to also direct her to Publix. So the medication that she needed came at an even greater savings. So we really are starting to see some positive results. I would just encourage any employee who's having challenges with access to a provider, issues with a prescription, contact our risk and benefits program, contact Aether, contact MAP. We stand ready to help you. And that level of service has really improved too. So wanted to share with that. Then I wanted to give a brief update for back to school as we've been doing. In particular, as we start to talk about why and how and when we might think about, as Mr. Allen mentioned, a safe return to more brick and mortar school, I kind of want to give you some background. First of all, for the whole community, there's that rumor out there that everybody's coming back in January face to face. Obviously, this board has not made that decision, and that's not my decision to make. I look forward to bringing a recommendation for you about what a safe return to school would be like before January so that we have plans to implement, just like we did with our back to school plan this summer. But first of all, we need to talk about some of this information about the why, the how, and the when we might decide to kind of do that information. First of all, we did go ahead and reconvene our back to school task force. They met with Mr. Phelps on October the 23rd. We had again our partners from Nemours, Dr. Cadilia, Dr. Alexander, our department from the Department of Health, Ms. McCluskey, to kind of talk about what's happening on the local level. What are they seeing in particular with schools and students and the spread of COVID, and what that might look like as we start to make our plans moving forward. We also had our principals, we had parents. Mr. Allen, I don't believe was able to participate, but Ms. Jackson was there representing OCEA. We do hope Mr. Allen will make an opportunity to be at the next meeting because we want to make sure that we're engaging people in this conversation so that we can bring forward an informed recommendation for you. In terms of where we've been and what we're learning, on an international and national scale and local scale, it's actually almost seeming as if kids appear to be safer at school than almost anywhere because there are procedures and protocols in place. They're wearing their masks, they're washing their hands, they're practicing social distancing when it's limited, and we're not seeing spread among children in our schools. We are having to quarantine kids, we're having to quarantine adults, but for the most part, that is because of outside exposure. And then those kids aren't coming back and saying, oh, I became positive 3 days later or 5 days later or 6 days later. Instead, they're out for the 2 weeks, they've transitioned to digital learning. Teachers who are feeling well, if they choose to, can transition to the digital instruction, so nobody's taking leave, nobody's counted absent, learning can continue, but we're also keeping others safe during that important quarantine period. The face masks and the hand washing are absolutely critical, particularly if you're in a space where you're not able to have that 6 feet distance apart. Here locally, I wanted to share with you some of the most recent data. Slide too fast. As you can see, this is for the last 2 weeks. This is the Osceola report as of yesterday. Okay? We saw a spike in the numbers on October the 31st. Typically, however, that's not unusual at the end of the month because they'll get a data dump from some of the exterior lab sources, for example, Nightlife Pediatrics, and it's not been reported consistently, and so that right there did not necessarily mean that we were having a really, really bad time here in the area, and it's gone back down and kind of stabilized. And as you can see, it's kind of up and down, but it's not as where it was in the summer when, remember, we were looking at a couple of hundred cases every day here in our Osceola County area. I also wanted to share with you this information because it's important that we look at this both from the global scale and the local scale. The state data report groups in categories of 0 to 4, 5 to 14, 15 to 24 as it relates to children that we serve in our schools. And on November the 1st, as you can see, 3 of the cases were in that 5 to 14 category and 17 were in that 15 to 24 category, or 37% of the total positive cases yesterday. However, the Department of Health, Ms. McCluskey and her team have broken down that data a little bit further to make it more meaningful. And I understand this may be hard for our public to view. But I want you to look at the red line that's kind of in the middle. It starts at 40 cases It goes up a little bit into that 45-ish range, and then it comes back down into about the 35 range. That is actually young people in ages 5 to 17 during that period of time from 10-4 to 10-24. If you look then at that like lime green line that starts right below 40 at like 39, then goes up to about 45, and then now is at the highest point over 70, that is your age group of 18 to 24. That is college kids doing what college kids do, okay? And I don't see that changing significantly. It's been a national trend because the kids don't get as sick so far for the vast majority of them. And so they aren't feeling that pressure to follow the rules, practice their social distancing, and wear their masks. But Bianca is gonna help us continue to kind of break this data out so we can truly see that 5 to 17 age group locally as we're starting to talk about what a safe return to school might look like. Because if you just look at the state report, the data could be somewhat misleading. I will tell you this is an area of concern, and that is the positivity rate. Starting about October 19th, and you can actually go back to the beginning of October, we were really trending right around that 5%, other than an anomaly day kind of here or there. But for the last few days, it's been going upward. This is something that we'll continue to watch carefully, because that 5% number is a number that's been reported as one to really watch for, are you having a community spread issue or not? Some of this, again, is related to the number of tests that are reported each day. For example, on 11/1, when our test positivity rate goes up to 7.77%, we only had 546 test results come in that day. So that can sometimes cause the number, but we're looking at trends and looking at averages as we're studying this data. Do have some good news data here in that emergency room visits for both flu-like symptoms and COVID-like symptoms are staying fairly stable if you look at where it starts and kind of where it ends, and actually trending downward just a little bit, which is important. However, we are starting to see, particularly this week, a number of people that we've quarantined or sent home because of a fever coming back with a negative COVID test and the flu. So if you haven't already done so, make that stop at your local store, call our health clinic, and get your flu shot. Super, super important. But again, this is that positivity report that we continue to look at. Daily on 11/2, it was 7.77%. However, overall, since the beginning, it's been 14%. So we're continuing to monitor this data. We'll talk about it again with our back to school task force, and we're gonna continue to work with our medical partners. Dr. Alexander and Dr. Cadilia will definitely be with us at our next meeting to also be able to answer any questions from the board, because we'll have some new board members who aren't familiar with this information. But we wanna continue to be honest, to be transparent, to be communicative with everybody about this process as we're having these discussions and moving forward. Why are we even talking about back to school? Well, two reasons. Number one, the current emergency order from the commissioner expires at the end of first semester. It's important for everybody to understand that that order didn't tell everybody that you had to open schools. It simply said you had to provide an option to open schools if you wanted to take advantage of a hold harmless agreement for funding of a digital learning option. Digital learning option in statute typically earns about 60% of the full student equivalent, FTE. With the emergency order, we were guaranteed a hold harmless or full FTE for both digital and face-to-face, brick and mortar, as long as we offered that option to our parents. So funding is a concern for second semester. If we maintain 50% of our kids in digital learning and we get 60% of FTE for those 50% of the kids second semester, that doesn't cover the cost of operating our buildings, paying our teachers, paying the support people who help to make sure this learning happened, transportation, food service, all of those other things. So the numbers do matter. Safety's first, but we have to be realistic about the numbers. But I want to share with you now some additional numbers. And for those looking at the outside, this will be hard to read because it's small. However, you can see on your screen, board members. This is as of the end of the first grading period. We've looked at grades and ABCDF report for our elementary face-to-face and digital learners. You can see that of the grades issued to elementary school face-to-face students, about 6.5% of them were face-to-face, 2.59% were Fs. For our digital learners, look at these numbers. 8.5% of the grades were Ds, 6.3% were Fs. For our face-to-face middle school kids, you had 8% Ds, 4% Fs. For our digital kids in middle school, that number is 13% Ds, almost 14% failing grades. And for our high school students, you had about a 7.5% trend with Fs and a 7.9% trend. With Ds and a 7.9% with Fs. When you look at our digital learners, that number jumps to almost 10% and 18% Fs. We would not allow students to sit in our classrooms in our school buildings and fail without intervening. I don't think it's fair or right or reasonable to allow digital kids to sit at home, failing without intervening. So that is what our schools are now working through the process of contacting those parents, contacting those kids, following up. If this isn't working for you, maybe face-to-face is better because the learning can't stop. We're accountable for each and every one of these kids, and we've been committed from day one to trying to help all of them be successful. So that's the second reason for the why. The third reason is this. We continue to see struggles with our students and their mental and emotional health and well-being. We know that our adults are stressed as well. This is particularly true in our middle school student population right now, and it's been very true of our digital learners, to the point of 7 students attempting significant self-harm since the beginning of the school year. Fortunately, we've had interventions in place and been able to save almost all of them. But one kid lost is one kid too many. Our kids are feeling a tremendous amount of isolation. So we are looking at some different approaches to try to be proactive in this. If you haven't had a chance to check out our website, our amazing team in student services and our guidance counseling team have launched these Bitmoji screens. There's one for elementary, there's one for secondary, and there's one for teachers, but that's really for all adults. I had some great fun in it last week when I was feeling a little stressed and needed to take a break and do something different. The little polar bear there guy, he is awesome for teaching you some breathing techniques to help you lower your stress level. All of the keys on these screens are interactive. There is calming music, there are calming breathing exercises, there's a yoga mat on the elementary piece where they'll practice the kids some yoga exercises. But there are also some places where suicide prevention, for example, in secondary, if you link on that, it will take you to the website with the phone number and resources to help you immediately get to resources to help yourself or to help somebody else who's in distress. In addition, as a result of some things that have happened over the course of the last week, our student services and guidance counselor team also launched an initiative at our middle schools. They started at Bella Lago, and we're going to go to all of the middle schools in the district and then follow up with high schools. We are doing 10 to 15-minute presentations in every class about what do you do if you're feeling sad or bad, and what do you do to help someone else. So trying to be more proactive in giving kids the access to the resources that they need, the tools that they need to help each other keep each other safe. We're going to be following that up with some elementary materials and also looking at doing some digital forums for parents in the community to make sure we're connecting our kids and parents to resources to help them stay mentally and healthy well. And then finally, I just have to say again, our folks are working so hard. Our teachers, our principals, our support staff, our bus drivers, everybody across this district. And you know what? They've been working like that since March. Just like the first responders, the doctors, the nurses that are out there on the front line, the firemen, the policemen, our educators are out there on the front line as well. And they're doing an amazing job. And the best recognition I've seen of that is on YouTube from Alicia Keys, and we're gonna play that for you now. It's just a couple of minutes, but I think this is a great tribute to all of the essentials in this school district who are working hard every day for kids.
I was confused, thank you.
You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, smile on my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless, I don't know if this helps it, but good job, you're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah.
6 in the morning. As soon as you walk through that door, everyone needs you again. The world's out of order. It's not a sound when you're not around.
All day on your feet, hard to keep that energy. I know when it feels like the end of the road, you don't let go, you just press forward. You're the engine that makes all things go, always in disguise, my hero. I see a light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless, I don't know if this helps it, but
Good job, you're doing a good job, a good job.
good job.
You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, matter, matter.
Good job. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah. The mothers, the fathers, the teachers that reach us, strangers to friends that show up in the end. From the bottom to the top, the listeners that hear us, this is for you. You make me feel it. You're doing a good job, a good job. Oh, you're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter.
Thank you so much to our first responders, our healthcare workers, our mothers. Thank you to our moms and our dads. Thank you to our teachers who've helped us.
We know it's been hard, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
That's all I have for it. I'm going to say thank you to all of the amazing people who are doing a great job serving our kids in this community.
That's great. That's a beautiful story, beautiful song, and a beautiful message. Thank you, Dr. Pace. Board, any comments, questions? Superintendent Castillo?
I just have a very quick one. I really appreciate the little video, you know, in May, it was easy to remember to say thank you to a lot of people. As we go on, it gets, becomes a little more the same, and I really appreciate being reminded to do that. So, I thank you.
for that reminder. I do have a few questions. Of course I do. So first, I don't know about other board members, but I've definitely been receiving some messages from concerned citizens with regards to a pending decision that we're supposed to be making, which I wasn't aware of. Clearly, there's probably something going on outside of these walls that you actually addressed today, so thank you for that. The presentation that you actually pulled up, is that going to be public?
It's part of the
Okay.
board agenda.
So it's,
If it's not there now, we'll make sure it's added.
It's
no,
there.
it is,
It's
you're
I was
right,
gonna say,
okay.
I thought we added it to the
So-
agenda.
Okay, no, it's there, I apologize, so perfect, thank you so much for that, I might be sharing that with some of the folks that emailed me this week. In addition to that, and I know the answer to this, but I just wanna make sure that I at least ask the question with regards to funding and the digital option. Do we know, or is there any indication that you know of, I know that you attend a lot of superintendent meetings, do you know if there is any indication that we will have the hold harmless, I guess, action extended, or do we just have no idea if this will be something?
The commissioner has indicated that he will have some information to us before Thanksgiving to
Okay,
help guide decisions for next semester. It could be that the emergency order simply expires and then the system resorts to statutory calculations for per student funding and seat time. It could be that he issues some kind of an extension. I will tell you that he has expressed concern about the digital option based on data very similar to what I shared with you.
right,
We have a lot of students for whom that's not working for various reasons. And it's certainly not the fault of our teachers. We never put this on the fault of our kids. It's just hard to do that kind of work alone, and it's hard for our teachers to engage remotely for that length of time. And when we didn't have the relationships to start the year in August that we had when we started digital learning in March, I said from the very beginning that's significant. So, but just like always, I don't believe in waiting and being reactive to something that comes out of Tallahassee. So instead, that's why we've pulled together our back to school task force to start looking at the data, both from a safety standpoint as well as an academic standpoint, engaging all stakeholders in discussions so that we can bring forward a good recommendation to the board.
thank you so much. The next question I have is with regards to the alarming rates for the digital learners. That's very concerning to me. Obviously, as a mom of a junior who is getting ready for college, and I know that there are probably some students in that category as well. So do we know how the grades for our students in the digital learning platform compare to other districts? Is that information out in public?
I've not had an opportunity to research that. I will tell you that this follows a national trend.
Yes. Yes, okay. Okay, thank you. And I think that will be the end of the questions that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. Ms. Thacker, you're good?
Good.
Thank you, Dr. Pace, for the update and the information, and thank you as always for helping dispel the misinformation or the rumors that are out there about what is or what isn't happening with that. Board, there is no unfinished business. I don't believe there's any new business to be discussed this evening, correct? We will move into any board member comments or committee reports.
I just want to thank you for seeing your term through to the end and being here today.
If you hadn't been, he's a vice chair, how we're gonna even.
So I appreciate all your service, and I mentioned it earlier, but and your dedication to digging into facts and some of that expertise will be hard to fill next group. So I really appreciate that. I know you're not going anywhere other than off the, so we will still see each other.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Ms. Castillo, any new business?
I don't have any new business. Is this the part where we talk about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's good, the answer is yes.
I have, let me pull up my thesis, just kidding.
There you go.
No, I'm upset that, obviously we don't have all of the board members who are exiting here today, but I know why. We've had a chance to honor Mr. Booth last meeting. And, I haven't seen Mr. Soto in a while, but I will be sure to let him know personally. Coming into this board the way that I did as the only new member in that cycle was scary, I think, for both myself and for the board, not knowing who I was, what I was bringing to the table. And so what I will say is that during that time, all of you guys, but especially you, Mr. Weisfire, have been intentional about holding space for me to develop as a leader. And that's something that will stay with me and with the new board, because your intention to ensure that even if we don't agree, that I was heard and that I developed my leadership skills are obviously going to be a benefit to the entire board and to myself. And I think that that is really the debt that I owe to you, and I can't repay it. So I will make sure that when we have a new board, I hold space for them as well, so that they can develop their leadership skills, because when we are incompetent, it only benefits the board, it benefits our students, and that is important. So I appreciate that. Thank you for your service. You will be missed, and I think we got it from here.
Thank you. You didn't see it. As you said, you will be missed. Frank was in the background doing this. I'll be brief. Thank you both, honestly and sincerely. I want to make a couple brief comments, and I want to touch on Mr. Soto, who wasn't able to be with us. I can echo all the sentiments back to you guys, and I said it earlier. I'm truly, truly fortunate that this position's an honor to serve in. But I really couldn't have asked for a better board to serve with. I came in at the tail end of the greatest recession to impact society, and I leave in the midst of the first pandemic that we've realized in 100 years. And so leading through and serving through, inopportune times, but doing it with a board that is so focused on exactly what you just expressed, Ms. Castillo, is a willingness to listen, understand, engage, support, deliberate, discuss, and then stay united. This board has done a great job, and that's not any one board member, that's all of us collectively. So you guys are the board members that will be remaining, and I can tell you with full confidence that I know that this board will be in great hands, not just with you guys, but the new board members that are coming on. But I have complete confidence in your leadership, your wisdom, your discernment, and your dedication to this community, to our district, and to this board and the work that you undertake. And then I did just want to make a brief comment about Mr. Soto. Him and I came in together the exact same year, the exact same time, and have served alongside of one another all 8 years. And I'm sad he's not able to be here, but I understand the circumstance by which he's not. And I would be remiss if I didn't express my personal and public gratitude for him, his service, his leadership, and his friendship. He has truly worked to dedicate himself to the success of this district, and he takes so serious the role that he serves in being a representative of the community to a governing body. And that is something I saw in him and witnessed from him throughout the 8 years of service, is that in every moment and every opportunity, he was thinking about what does it mean to not just his quote-unquote constituents, but our constituents, the residents, the citizens, the parents, the students, and the teachers of Osceola County. And so, although he's not able to be here this evening, he deserves his due recognition for his leadership, his service, and his unwavering dedication to doing the right thing for the Osceola County School District. And so, with that, thank you, Frank. Still love you. And Emma, I'm coming to you. Welcome. Congratulations again, and the floor is yours if you have anything you'd like to share this evening.
Okay, first I'd like to say thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate the opportunity. But I did want to bring up some student concerns. So I'm a face-to-face student at Toho, and I've talked to students, teachers, and for all of them, health is a concern, especially with the rumors that people are going to be pushed back into schools starting second semester, which I know you all don't have control over those rumors. And I'm really proud of how my school has handled it for the most part, but we do temperature checks in the morning, but I've noticed they're not perfect because I've had temperature checks where I come up less than 95 degrees, and so did several students before me, so they're not the most accurate. And I also noticed there's clusters of students during lunch without their masks on because they're eating, but they're not social distance. So masks and hand washing, they do work, but not when you're not wearing the mask. Especially with elementary and middle schools, they eat lunch largely inside. High schools usually have the option to eat outside, which is what many high schoolers take. But especially for elementary and middle schoolers, if they're taking off their masks and students come back, they're going to be all clustered together without their masks, and that could be a big problem. Some teachers and students also aren't wearing their mask over their nose. I've seen administrators and teachers try to hey, get your mask on all the way over your nose. But I don't know if there's a way we could really encourage all students and teachers to wear it over their mask, because it's not only students, it's teachers too. And I also wanted to talk about the disconnect with remote students. In hybrid classes, sometimes it seems like they're not getting as much attention from their teachers as their face-to-face students, which it's probably just second nature for a teacher to turn to their face-to-face student rather than coming to their hybrid students first who are digital. And in regards to the poor grades of digital students, it's largely a lack of motivation. It's not the student or the teacher or the parent. They're stuck at home all day and they just don't feel like doing anything. And they're all stressed. Mental health is a huge issue right now just from talking to a lot of teachers and students. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Great job, Emma,
Great
and
job.
again, congratulations. Board members, any thoughts or comments for Emma?
Thank you so much for bringing your concerns
Yes,
to
I
the
appreciate
board.
it. Appreciate
That's really important. Your voice is important, which is the reason why we have this position. You know, we can't always be connected with the students, so thank you for bringing those to us.
And I will tell you why we like to hear Mr. Weishire talk, not so much sometimes. This is probably one of my favorite parts by far of the meeting is when these students do get to talk to us and tell us what they're thinking, and that never goes without being such a positive experience with your poise and your delivery and your thoughtfulness on your comments. So I really appreciate you. Glad you're here.
Well said. And Emma, you heard the superintendent this evening share some important data points, but also some important information. And so one of the benefits of having you here is not just the opportunity for us to hear from a very successful student in our community, but also for you to experience the reality of what the process looks like, how we function as a board, how we deliberate, discuss, and decide, but also the realities of the information that is being considered. As Ms. Castillo mentioned earlier in her comments, that oftentimes there's misinformation that's out in the ether, and if people would not tune in physically, but tune in with an ear and an eye and a mind to actually understand what's truly happening, in truth, in my opinion, the world will be a much better place as opposed to just spinning up with what they think is happening or what's being tweeted out there. So you have an opportunity as well to take the information that you hear during these meetings over the next month or so that you're participating